This week's scenario is Standoff from the 2017 Steamroller packet. This scenario does have the Killbox Artifice in effect and consists of 2 circular zones which can be controlled by warrior units, warcasters, and warlocks for 1 CP, 2 rectangular zones which can be controlled by warjacks, warbeasts, battle engines, warcasters, and warlocks for 1 CP, and 2 objectives, each could be destroyed for 1 CP for the opposing player. Victory conditions consist of earning 5 more control points than your opponent or caster assassination.
Hey everybody, PolarBearCub here. So this list that I'm deploying is my Aurora list, and it is Clockwork Legion. So this list was actually designed by Aaron Allen, and I talked to him a while about it. I really like the idea of the concept of this list. This list is very heavy on assassination. One thing you will notice is that I have a unit of mechanics in here. Now normally they should be two Enigma Foundries, but when I was driving, I forgot the Enigma Foundries. Because I forgot the Enigma Foundries, could not put them in the list. So with this list, it's really going to try to be as aggressive as possible. Now with my Reciprocators getting advanced move, I get to move them up 5 inches, and the goal is going to try to be run them up, not get shot, engage, and eventually assassinate.
Hey everybody, this is Gaston, and today I'm playing Helga the Conquerer in the Thornfall Alliance theme force. In all of the excitement of the new Gator releases and the Will Work for Food theme force, a lot of people, it feels like, miss how the Thornfall Alliance theme has kind of gotten a few quality of life improvements, and I wanted to really explore those with this list. So I'm including our new solo Agata, I'm including Brun and Lug, who have just recently been added to the theme, and also the Meat Thresher, which has gone through CID, but hasn't actually been on the channel since it got all the different buffs. It got increased wounds, it got cheaper. So I wanted to kind of put all that together. Of course I will be ambushing my Farrow commandos, because that's what you do.
Alright, so turn 1. So I've been out for a few months, really starting to recently get back into the game, and I'm really excited to play both Convergence and Crucible Guard. So one of the things I'm doing here is, first I'm moving up my models. I forgot about my advanced movements. So luckily my opponent was super gracious. Gaston is always amazing, and he's always really good about letting me kind of take some of the stuff back. So I told him, I said I apologize, but both of my units, they advanced move. He said it was perfectly fine, moved them up. So that's what they're doing right now. Now Aurora, when she walked up, she ended up casting she cast Arcane Might on herself, and she also cast the ability for her units to gain +2 inches of movement and the ability to fly. So this is really key for this army, because with them being able to fly, they potentially have the ability to charge over units. And normally they would suffer parry, but the big thing with this list is her feat gives her parry, so they can ignore free strikes, and then they can also reposition. Now this army, I could have moved my Reciprocators up further, about 5 more inches further. I was concerned at the time because I did not want to get shot. Red Strike probably should have been as aggressive as possible, get my models as far up to the table as possible, which would cause a lot of concern on his end, because he would not know necessarily what to do with my models being an additional 5 inches forward, which again could have helped me with potential for threat.
What my opponent did right there is exactly why I wanted to go first. He ran up, he took a bunch of board space, and unfortunately, because he has Aurora and her whatever fight spelly thing, he's going to threat really far too. So my ability to move forward is actually going to be very seriously hindered by the fact that he got to go first, which is upsetting to me. So all that, you can see I'm just doing a lot of threat range measurements, and everything's going to advance to be just outside. I'm going second. I'm not particularly worried about the scenario at this point in time. I'm going to do what I can do to make him come towards me in order to choose kind of the engagement on my terms. So my expectation when I'm setting all these things up is that he's going to possibly pop Aurora's feet, he's going to jam forward, and then he's going to reposition 5, I believe, over top and just kind of gum up the whole works. This is something I'm relatively prepared for because of this particular matchup. I have Helga, she has the ability to slam. In addition to that, she has dash, which allows the infantry to disengage and still be effective even then when they're all jammed up by his models. Those are my different thought process going into this. As I go forward, I had a Helga, she cast dash, she went ahead and put Defender's Ward on the Meat Thresher. One of the little gotchas is that I always put my battle engines on the flank. It's just easier to move around the huge base engines. And the first time I'd actually played this list, I had not had the meet Thresher in range for her to put Defender's Ward up on it. So we fixed that in this game. Something to always keep in mind. One of the things I'm also doing with Gata particularly is that I want her to be kind of like my Totem Hunter. In this, where she can charge, she can slam 2 different models, she can sidestep around things and get really weird angles.
Alright, so my turn 2. With this turn, really what I want to do is get my models up. I wasn't aggressive enough last turn, and with me not being aggressive enough, I thought that I would need to get my models up a little bit more. Honestly, in retrospect, what I really easily could have done is just sat there. Sitting there, I would have forced my opponent to come towards me, he would have had to engage me, and then he would have to deal with my charges. But turn 1, if I would have ran my reciprocators up the additional 3 or 4 or 5 inches what I should have, then I could have very easily gotten my models up there, and then could have just put more aggression out there. So what I'm doing first is I'm activating that Cipher because I wanted the Cipher to go out there, and the Cipher went to go put an AoE blast on those models over there. So the reason is because I'm going to move a arc node over there, and I want to blast them as many of the models as possible with Aurora to try and start getting up on attrition. I really think it's going to be important. I don't like getting shot. My reciprocators, they shouldn't have an issue getting shot because they're going to shield wall, they're going to be armor 20, everything should be great. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm contemplating right now. So I moved them up there. Now I'm activating Aurora. I cleared a little bit past so she could walk up that way. So I'm going to be activating her in a second. Looks like I'm going to be looking at some other things. So move on my reciprocators, and I am putting them in shield wall with the defensive strike up. Now, one thing I do want to say is it's very important to know what your opponent's feat is. I thought the feat was going to be whenever a model charges, they get the slam on their attack. I didn't realize that it was all melee attacks. So that's what my issue was when playing this. I would have been less aggressive pushing my models up there. And you'll kind of see that in the next couple of turns. That being said, so Cipher ended up shooting. And he is putting a couple things with a flare. And then I try to shoot again because I really want to try to get over as many models as possible. Unfortunately, the shot goes wide, and I don't get any. I get 1 model on there. So next, I'm going to be activating Aurora. She's going to walk up. She flies, so that's why she was able to hop over the Cipher. And she is going to cast some guided blades, bladed gale. So what that does, it's a spray 6. And it's power 13, and model set loses flight. Doesn't really matter against his model, but hey, it's a spray that's going to start removing some models from the table. So that's kind of what this is doing. Just during that time, just kind of talking about more so what my thought was. I figured if I move my models up, I might get charged by 1 or 2 models, but I wasn't as concerned. With my reciprocators up there, they put not defensive strike, they put the ability to, when they're charged, they get +2 to their defense, so they'd effectively be a defense 14. So I was thinking, defense 14, if you're going to charge me, you're not really going to hit me. If you do hit me, whatever, you're going to knock 1 or 2 models over. Again, I thought incorrectly that whenever they charge, they only get to slam when they charge, not all of their melee attacks. So my Eradicators moved up, and then my second unit of Reciprocators moved up. They're going to give themselves shield wall +2 defense. With my Eradicators, they're moving up. They're going to give themselves arms up, or shields up, so they get themselves +2. And that's really the rest of my turn.
Obviously, I made what you officially term a boo-boo with the positioning of my Brigands. I had thought that dig in would protect them. I wasn't really particularly paying attention to Aurora's spell card, and I got lucky there. I got really lucky that the Warlord didn't die to those sprays. So we're going to try to capitalize on my luck this turn, and I have the ambushers. They're coming in from the top of the screen. They're cut off right now, but they'll eventually trickle down. Looking at the way he arranged his army, I was anticipating feet and jamming. It turns out he just kind of set himself up. So I'm going to do my best to kind of make him pay for that. And it's going to get kind of involved here. I'm feeling like this is a feat turn, but realistically my resources are kind of limited on what I can actually get to his army. The Brigands aren't really in charge range. I think Agata is kind of the only one who can really get there. The beasts can kind of get in, but they don't have overtake in this theme, so they're kind of limited to what, whichever 2 models they can engage. So you have to be very tactical when thinking about how we're going to do these slams, because one of the advantages I am going to have is that these slams are going to make my guys into pseudo weapon masters. So Helga's going forward, she's going to feat, she's going to upkeep Defender's Ward, she's going to cast Distraction, and then she's going to also cast Dash. So Distraction went onto the bottom, I believe they're called Reciprocators, maybe? The shield ball guys. So with all of that up, we now have Agata. She's going to go, she's going to charge in, and the idea is she's going to kill that middle guy there, by again becoming a pseudo weapon master. That'll open up a little pocket for my Roadhog to sneak in and kill more guys than he would normally be able to be. But Agata, being Agata, decides to fail all over the dice. So she charges in, she's slamming him back, and she's doing 0 damage. I'm like, I am so very proud of you. You do this to me every game, and this is why you stay in the box. So she hits the middle guy, knocks him down, she's going to sidestep. She's going to hit the guy in the end, so she'll knock down a total of 4 models and do like a grand total of 2 or 3 damage. It's... I'll strangle that model sometimes. But once they're all knocked down, this is something I hadn't particularly considered going into this matchup, but because he is an infantry-based army, knocking them down is actually an additional layer of powerful control for me. So with all that said and done, we're now going to move on to the bear and the dwarf. So one of the nice things that Brun and Rug really brings into Thornfall Alliance is the fact that they have Pathfinder natively. And one of the things I really like that doesn't particularly come up in this point in time is the combination of the Animus Bare Hands and Helga's Feet, where you can push something 3 inches and then slam it. Get a little extra distance there if you're going to try to do an assassination run. In this case, he's just coming in, he's charging, he's slamming a couple models into each other. No big deal, no big deal. So, pretty successful there. I'm relatively happy with my little bear friend, killing off 3 of his shield ball guys. And the nice thing is that because they were distracted, the retaliation coming forwards is going to be defense 14 on the bear for them. That'll help matters quite a bit. Now I have the Roadhog. The idea here is that he's got one of the medium-based dudes who's kind of right in the middle of that semicircle on the bottom half of the screen, and that is where I would love the Meat Thresher to be. And I am just trying to kill that guy. The Roadhog moves up, he puts in a fully boosted spray and decides to miss because he sucks. So now we're going to try to do it again with the Dwarf and his Blunderbuss. He actually hits, but he does not do enough damage. I think I really needed both of them to guarantee that guy going down. So that's going to make my Meat Thresher, unfortunately, incredibly complicated to position. And that's going to be very painful. And because I really don't want to deal with that right now, I flip back up to the top of the screen. So we got the Brigands, they're kind of advancing. Their prey target is the non-shield ball unit up there, whatever those guys are called. Sorry, I'm horrible with Convergence names. So rather than pick on the guys who are armor 20, they're going to pick on the guys who are armor 17, and they're just going to start trying to blow them away. I think they successfully blow away about 2 of them, which is pretty reasonable. And then I also swing on his arc node, which of course I miss. So, yay for getting more sprays into my units. Very sad. But all in all, not too bad a performance for them really after they took some hits in turn 1. And then they're going to reposition forward a little bit, they're going to reposition back a little bit, and they're just going to kind of contest the zone and gum up the works. And the reason I went with these guys first is because I still have the commandos at the top who are now going to charge in, and they're going to be able to get backstrike bonuses now, and they have brutal charge as well, so the not reciprocator, not perforated, the medium base unit is not going to get its buckler advantage against them. They're going to pick up another 2 of those guys off the table, so that'll be 4 out of 5 of them dead, which is a pretty good advantage for me. So far, that's, 3 guys down there, another 4 guys up top, so that's 7 out of 20 that I have to gut through. I'm a little advantaged here in that he does not have any of the Enigma Foundries to bring things back to life. That would be interesting to see how that works, how that matchup would work. So I have the Roadhog. He's going to come in now. I'm trying to get the front three into his melee range, so that way I can just kind of slam things around. I can kill things off, and then I can lightning strike back. Just using a proxy base there for ease of use. And he's going to go ahead and he will take out that front flank there. More or less take it out. I guess he fails to kill one of them. So, another 2 down. So we're almost halfway through my opponent's army. Have the chef move up. He's going to stand in the trench, and he's going to be behind the Roadhog to just kind of help me. I believe at this point I'm going to have some fury management issues. It's interesting because the chef he's like just kind of a throw-in solo, but every now and then he just becomes incredibly useful for fury management. So this is what I was afraid of down here. This is one of the reasons I really do not like to play the Meat Thresher, is that moving this thing around requires 8,001 proxy bases, figuring out where you're going to go, how the bulldozer is going to work, you're touching your opponent's models. It's just not a fun experience, even if you get the results out of it that you want. So unfortunately for me, I'm not getting the results out of it I want because that one stupid buckler guy was still alive after the 2 sprays. So now we're having to jump through. You can see I've got like 3 or 4 proxy bases on the table. It's awful. But I'm also charging a different model. I'm charging past, and I'm actually going to miss out on attacking 2 of the guys that I originally would have liked to attack. But that being said, he's going to go through and he's going to take out another 4 of the medium base models. The flip side of the Meat Thresher is that if you can get him into the matchups where he is strong, which is small medium base models that can be knocked down, it is incredibly strong battle engine. It's just, you're always kind of playing that game of, do I get the matchup that I want, do I not get the matchup that I want, as you're putting it down on the table, as you're trying to position it around. Like if you put down, the Meat Thresher into a TEP, your life is going to be a whole lot sadder, because the TEP is at some point going to be able to whittle down the Meat Thresher and kill it. In this case, I just happened to get somewhat lucky in the matchup. So it comes in, it kills off a whole bunch of his models, it kills off his Arcnode guy, and it puts a couple shots into the Diffuser, the little light jack with a gun. So all in all, a great day for the Meat Thresher, and I've really managed to, I feel like, break his back a lot on his infantry. He still has the jacks, he still has a lot of tricks with Aurora, so I'm not sitting safe. But I think I got as far as I was able to, as good an alpha strike as possible. Realistically, I think my opponent did a very good job limiting the models I could get in there. Only 4 of my models charged this turn, when you stop and think about the Thresher, the Bear, the Gata, and the Roadhog. So, and I guess the Ambushers, I got a few of them in. So with the really limited resources, I think the outcome was actually pretty good in my favor. The only really final things to do here is we're going to run the Valkyries up, kind of act as shield guards. The other thing I want them to do is kind of move towards that zone in the bottom so I can get kind of a unit in there.
Alright, so turn 3. That was a painful turn for me. I lost a ton of models. Really at this point, some of my goals are going to be trying to do a lot of damage control. Again, at this point, I think the assassination run is completely out of the question. I won't be able to get enough models up there to be able to do any real damage. And I'm kind of scrambling at this point. Some of the mistakes I had made was, I think turn 1, it didn't run up far enough, but really more so turn 2. A mixture of, I didn't need to be that aggressive with the Reciprocators that second turn. I could have really just had them stay back and not really get charged, and also just understanding the feat. So with that being said, what I'm going to try to do is try to clear out a lot of the zone as much as possible. I want to try to get a leg up. I have my own zone, but I want to try to clear that far circle, because I know I'm not going to be able to clear the closest circle to me. So I want to clear that far circle and then get someone into his zone so I could try to get up on some scenario, because that's really what my goal needs to be, is to try to mitigate the damage, and let's either see if I can possibly get in for an assassination at some point, but realistically, let's see if I can try to get up on scenario. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm activating Activate Aurora. She just moved up. She's camping on some focus. she's going to do some, she tried to do a shot. First, actually, what I did was they had all done their 2-inch move because she does have Apparition. So Cipher is then going to, instead of running, what I'm going to end up having him do is he's going to walk up and try to shoot. But first, what I want to do is try to just start killing some things with the Diffuser. Big mistake with that was I had my jacks really far apart. I used the Corollary to give 3 focus, and then what I ended up doing was when that focus went back to him, I had already moved him incorrectly, so I couldn't activate him again and then get him to transfer focus over to the Cipher via him walking him, just like punching something. So what I'm doing right now is kind of just looking at kind of what models they can get up and see, what I can kind of do to try and figure out kind of what my game plan is going to be. So that's kind of what's going on here, because I like I said, I really want to kind of get the I can't come back from the attrition, so I can't out attrition them, but really it's going to be scenario plays what's going to help me win, or potentially a assassination run. So I'm kind of just going through looking at some of my models, trying to figure out, because I want to get that diffuser up to try to shoot. I need to see, right now I'm looking at with Aurora, if she can walk up, how far I could potentially get to an assassination to see if I can get, what's her name up there. Because if I could get Gaston's Warcaster with a walk up, then I could very easily, I could try to get the Cipher to go and put some minus to the defense on the AoE. But that didn't look like it was going to work. Now I'm looking at kind of, again, what I could do to remove all of those models. So my Unit of Reciprocators are going to activate. The 2 of them that were knocked down, they just stand still. And the other guy who was not knocked down, he stands up and he's going to go, moves over so he can go and get into that square. So once he's in, sorry, not the square, once he's in the rectangle, now all of a sudden he can't control. So at least that'll bring me up 1 on the scenario. So they're going and they're trying to kill some of the models. That's going to be the fun part, is just what am I going to try to do to remove the other models. So I am now going to try to do another Bladed Gale, but I have my Arc Node is currently engaged. So I'm going to need to try to get him out. Originally what I was going to do is he was going to swing, but unfortunately they have that big stick that is not a melee attack. So he is now going to try to move out, and unfortunately he gets killed. It was a really good roll on the attack, and his damage was going to kill him. So now I cannot Bladed Gale to try to remove more models. So my one Eradicator, he walks up and he's going to try to sidestep, kill things. They have tough, and tough is a thing. Unfortunately, tough keeps 1 model alive, but I'm still going to try to move up, because if I can go kill that model, then I still get more opportunity to try to remove more models from the table. So that's kind of what's happening. Unfortunately, both of them tough. So with 2 of them toughing, that makes it pretty hard for me to go and remove models. Effectively, at this point, I don't see myself being able to remove enough models. Something I probably could have done was moved Aurora over to that side, that far area, and honestly try to do a Bladed Gale on those 3 models over there that were lined up with each other. If I could have done a Bladed Gale, that would have been great to try to remove those models. But then again, that does remove me from a potential assassination over the next couple turns, which is something I was really looking at trying to do. I like assassination. I think assassination works well. Aurora is a unique caster in the fact that she doesn't have a super strong assassination potential. It's definitely cranked up a lot whenever you have some angels, because then she could get just additional to her attack and damage roll, which probably is not a bad idea for looking at future for this list, seeing what potential I could possibly move out and what I could put in, or just really kind of clearly defining what I think I want this list to do. Chloe had activated, he went and moved forward, he's trying to take a shot. I put some focus onto him, and then as I'm doing that, I kind of realized that the Diffuser's too far away to give stuff over to the Cipher. And then whenever I shoot, they end up shield guarding it, and then it goes over to somebody else. So I boosted the attack and the damage, so at least it goes back on to the Corollary, so he can have 3 focus for the following round if I were to do something. Next, the Cipher, he's going to walk up. He's going to start punching some models. I can at least get 2 of the models out. Like I said, at that point, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to be able to... well, I knew for a fact I wasn't going to be able to remove any of those models. So next, what she's doing is she's going to walk up and she's taking a shot at a model with her range attack to just try to start removing some models from play, just so I can at least clear up those lanes right there. And I put her just outside the forest, so people don't have line of sight to her. So at this point, there's really nothing that has line of sight to get to Aurora, so I know she's at least safe for one more round. And then finally, I'm moving up my maintenance mechanics. They're going to go and start healing up all those models over there. I still have a couple of things in the back. I have Eilish Garrity that really hasn't activated at all, and I have another model in the very back that I don't know what that is at this point. Oh, it's my Steelsoul Protector that is there to take an attack from me. It's my shield guard and can take an attack. So Eilish Garrity just walks up. First, he was going to try to remove the minus to Matt and Rat, but that is not an upkeep spell, so instead I move him to the other side so he's closer to Aurora. And then just really these Reciprocators and the Eradicators, they're just moving up. They're going to try to just engage to his battle engine, try to just do as much damage as possible. He's pretty high on armor, so it's really hard to do any type of damage.
He hit me back pretty decently with what he had. Obviously, he's now moved away from the attrition. He's trying to play the scenario game, trying to clear off that top zone and start scoring to stay ahead. I also burned a whole lot of clock on my previous turn, just, part of the me Thresher debacle. So I'm trying to then now get scenario to swing back in my favor. And I think one of the big things that's moving in my favor is that I have this me Thresher that he can no longer deal with. It's totally dominated the bottom zone. It's going to start shooting up his objective, I believe, with its gun. So I'll put a couple shots into there. And now his entire flank has kind of been turned. And that's going to give me a huge advantage here, going forward. The other thing is, I mentioned previously, the Bear and the Dwarf have Pathfinder, and having this force in the middle, the Bear is able to charge through, it helps me out a lot. What I have going on now is I'm trying to get rid of his models that are contesting. So I've got the Roadhog coming in. He's going to kill off the only Reciprocator that he can get to, and then he will just kind of hang out there. I think he's more kind of useful on that side. I'm still relatively worried about that heavy jack up there. It can do some damage. It's not something that you really want to ignore. It's something you want to be very cognizant of. So I got the Dwarf. He's moving up. He's using his spray gun, and he's trying to shoot up the objective as well. And now we got the Fun Bear. He's charging on in, and he will kill the objective, and then he will kill off the Diffuser, I believe it's called. And that's just starting to get me some more points and clear off his zone. Now that's contested. Now I've got the bottom and I have his objective. Thankfully, there's some pretty efficient on the Bear, where he was able to do everything with just 2 Fury. The Valkyries are going to run, so that way they're all towing into the zone, so that way they can capture it as well. That's very handy to have that additional unit in your army. It's something to consider when you're doing list building. Then on the top half, the Roadhog is going to try to go on in and snack off some guys. In order to make this as efficient as possible, I'm going to go ahead and try to trigger some gang with my poor little Brigands. So we have them. The Battle Boar is going to do a 2-handed throw, and he fails because life sucks. So that means my Brigands aren't going to get disengaged and get to kill and move around their prey target as they'd hoped, because that's the final remaining guy from their prey unit. So instead they're just going to go, they will receive the Assault and Battery order, and they're just going to literally just start popping shots into those shield wall guys. So it was just a little misplay by me there on the order of activations. I was being a little too clever, and I did not stand up my tough knockdown guy, because I'm like, oh, that would engage the guy I'm already engaging, so I actually lose out on a Brigand that way too. So they finish their gunshot part, now they're doing the battery part of Assault and Battery, or Hog Wild. They're doing the wild part. They kill off the final model in the prey unit, they move the prey down to the shield guys. I don't think they do all that much damage on the charge, but now they're engaging, so now the Roadhog gets the gang bonus. He's going to charge on in. Now, the one thing that I'm trying to be very cognizant is that I'm going through all of this, but really, Aurora is very fast, she's very hard to get away from, and I feel an assassination run coming on at this point. I literally cannot get Helga away from her. It's literally not going to happen. So what I have to do instead is manage my resources, manage my defense, and look at the statistics to see what I need to do to keep my caster alive. In order to do that, I'm jamming up his heavy warjack there with the commandos who are alive. I'm moving Defender's Ward onto Helga, and I'm basically just crossing my fingers that I'm going to survive Aurora's assassination run.
Turn 4, so I end up losing a lot more models, so at this point really I wanted to go for an assassination. I knew my Cipher wasn't in range, so I activated Eilish Garrity. He was too far away to be able to remove the upkeep, but what he did was end up doing puppet strings on Aurora, and Aurora is walking in and going for charged in and went for an assassination run. It was a lot of armor and a really high defense, and unfortunately this is not Aurora's strong suit, so I did my attacks and I did not succeed. So at the end I end up failing. Alright, so afterthoughts. So overall for the game, I know it wasn't what people might have wanted to see for Aurora. I do think she still has a lot of potential. I think the two of the biggest issues that I should have done differently was, one, I should have been a lot more aggressive the first turn. The second thing was I should have read her feats and then played my models differently. I should have put a couple models up forward, the rest of my army kept back. So it would have enticed her to move up, possibly not do as much damage. The third thing was, honestly, bringing my Enigma Foundries. That would help me bring back models throughout the turn, and then I could have used, something to try to start healing them. Honestly, if I were to play this game again, if I would have had my Orion and Aurora list, I probably would have dropped Orion, dealing with minions, because that was very hard to go against. I think an Orion would have had a much easier time. That being said, I do want to play Aurora more, so you can expect to see Aurora a couple more times on the channel going forward as I kind of figure out more about this list and really tweak it to make it a better gameplay for the future. So I hope you guys had fun watching it. Please give me feedback and just feedback general about the game. Thank you guys.